Our show's what you know. We'll always watch TV. And if you think we can't, we'll watch more and you'll see. That's why the people of the web believe in Jim from Las Vegas and Jacob from Sweden.
Shows What You Know, your television podcast. I am Jim from Las Vegas.
And I'm Jacob from Sweden. Welcome back, everybody, to the Bear Special. We will talk about other things, maybe, but mostly I have a lot to say about The Bear, specifically Season 3.
Yeah, Jacob, if you heard last week, Jacob was only about halfway through Season 2. I had already finished Season 3. He's all caught up now, and we have opinions. We'll get to that a little bit later. Before that, we will talk a little bit TV news. We'll talk about what we've been watching. We'll actually have a little mini game to play to tee up about our Bear discussion, and we'll go from there. First up on the news front, hot off the presses, at least as of recording, the trailer for Marvel Television's Agatha All Along, the teaser, has been released. This is a show, this was announced years ago. I think it's gone through like the cycle of like, I haven't watched it yet. So this is just basic initial opinion was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They're doing that series to now. And it's like, oh, they're still doing that. So hopefully the trailer changes my mind. Jacob, what do you think? You've only watched WandaVision, I believe, of the Marvel shows. Is that correct?
The only one I remember anyway. So so the WandaVision came out 2021, early 2021, and it was kind of it was very popular. They did something interesting, something different, and they decided, let's do more of this, or maybe let's check in on these characters through another medium or what have you. And when you told me that the trailer was out, I was like, I thought that I am on this particular show, but let's have a look. Let's see what the vibe is.
I can't get these.
If we can pull it up here.
Get it to work properly. Hold on.
God damn. YouTube.com/shows what you know.
Yeah, if you want to see a comedy of errors, you can go to youtube.com/shows what you know.
Let's go full screen.
Yeah, I'm trying. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
There we go. We got it.
Another beautiful day.
Surprised to see you out here, Detective. Jane Doe. Found her down here by the water.
Cause?
Blunt force trauma.
What happened to you? I have a lead in the case, but I can't shake this feeling I'm seeing it wrong.
Is this really how you see yourself?
That witch is gone, leaving you trapped in her distorted spell. Claw your way out. The glory days. She took every bit of power I had, but I can beat that witch again. Well, the gang's all here. Let's hit the road. I'm gonna walk the witch's road. The road is a death wish. Join me. What witch in her right mind would join Agatha Harkness's coven?
Not looking for right-minded witches, as it happens.
You okay?
Oh my God! Whoa! What's she doing? Where's she going?
You know what? I'm kind of into it. Jacob, what do you think?
Well, it's got horror elements, so of course you're kind of into it, Jim. That's
sounds
that's
like
a
me.
given. So if you're watching at home, it kind of starts as a police procedural, and I was like, okay, so are they gonna keep exploring like different genres in the same way they were doing in WandaVision? But doesn't look like it. Looks like our main character here, Agatha Harkness, is breaking out of her confinement. I guess restarting her coven, getting her powers back. I didn't really get a sense of what the plot is, which isn't necessarily a bad sign. This is more like a vibe we're getting. But yeah, I did get kind of Legion vibes for those who remember the TV show Legion, which is not a good sign. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, Aubrey Plaza obviously going to give the Legion vibes. I did think the same thing for a second. I mean, mostly because Aubrey Plaza, and yeah. Notoriously, we were not big fans of Legion, so I mean that could rub some people the wrong way because a lot of people liked it. I will say, visually, I mean, I'm not breaking new ground by saying that the Marvel look isn't that visually interesting, especially when it comes to their television shows. But this does feel like it has a little bit more of touch of WandaVision, because WandaVision was kind of like an exception to that rule, and this seems to be going along those lines. And yeah, I mean, spooky season's right around the corner. Everyone knows I love horror shows. This has a lot of horror elements. Kevin Feige has said that this is supposed to be a scary show. So that's kind of fun. I mean, I guess this is a necessary thing you have to do with shows like this. I don't love when the villain is now like a hero. And I don't know if that's what's going to happen here, but you get kind of hints of that. But you almost kind of have to do that when the villain becomes the main protagonist. They have to be somewhat of a hero. So, because I assume, again, this is based off nothing, but I assume Aubrey Plaza will be the more evil of the two, and that will be kind of the crux of the series. But we'll see. But anyways, yeah, no, I'm kind of into it. I'm down. I'm much more excited than I was a mere 2 minutes and 15 seconds ago.
Cool. Yeah, fair enough. And there could be a lot of interesting stuff in there. It looks like this one's directed by Jack Schaefer, who wrote I guess was the main creator behind WandaVision. Yeah, created by Jack Schaefer on WandaVision, but didn't direct episodes herself, but is now directing at least some of these episodes. So it'll be interesting to see. Also known for writing on such fabulous works as Olaf's Frozen Adventure, and not a lot of other stuff, but yeah, WandaVision was good. So yeah, I guess I am as excited as I was, if I'm being honest. I'm like, okay, yeah, this all looks like what you would do. Agatha All Along, the whole phrase was just like a joke from the like musical introduction of this character in WandaVision, and that's great. And it was that moment in itself might not be enough to carry a whole TV show released almost 4 years later, but I guess we'll find out in September.
Yeah, and it's also kind of suffers a little bit from the whole, like, I mean, I assume if you're going to watch this show, you've watched WandaVision, but you'd also would have to have watched Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because it seems like they're playing off of, I mean, I guess I won't say the spoiler, but the trailer gives away the spoiler of Multiverse of Madness. So, I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. This could be the acolyte of the Marvel TV shows, Jacob. And we turned around pretty big so far on the acolyte.
Did we? Okay.
Kind of.
All right. Well, still episodes left to go, Jim. So, save your opinions for later.
That's true, yeah. Tell me about Ireland, Jacob.
Well, apparently Wednesday, not the day, but the TV show, Wednesday Season 2 is set now to become the largest production ever shot in Ireland. At least that's what's reported here in this Variety article that I'm looking at. So it feels like it's a long time ago that Wednesday came out, but I guess, 2023. So it's not... No, that can't be right. When did Wednesday come out? Surely that was longer ago. That doesn't
feel like that. It does feel like it'd be longer than that, but maybe it was. Maybe it was like early 2023.
No.
Or maybe it was end of 2022.
November 23rd, 2022 is when it was released.
Yeah.
So I'm fact-checking your article, Alex Rittman of The Variety. It was released in 2022. So it's been a good while already. Hey, no TV show can release 2 seasons 2 years in a row. We know this. We know they're not getting around to it now. So
although the Bear's done
actually
every year.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, no, you're right. No, I was confused. No, they everyone's saying that the Bear shot seasons 3 and 4 back to back, but I don't believe that's actually accurate if you look into it. I think that was the original plan, but the scripts weren't ready. So they're going to continue production in early 2025, so who knows if they'll make a release for 2025, hopefully, for season 4, but we'll see.
I misunderstood what you said. I thought you meant no TV show could put out a season a year.
That is what I said, but then I got confused as well, so yeah.
Well, I did read that even this latest season, they only finished filming it a few months ago. That's how quick they are with some of this stuff. But who knows? Maybe when we discuss it, that'll be apparent. Tune in.
I guess I'm just kind of doing my work for the Irish Tourism Board, as always, bringing this article to light. There's not that much to say about it necessarily, but yeah, in terms of production spend, it's the largest production ever filmed in Ireland, even though, there's countless things that have been shot here or shot here in part, like, The Force Awakens. They filmed those islands. Everyone knows they went off to film some islands on the wild Atlantic. Yes, exactly. The Wild Atlantic Way down there in Kerry. So yeah, we had the Taoiseach, who's a cunt, go and visit the set. That was nice. Taoiseach means Prime Minister. That's the guy who runs the country.
I didn't know what you were saying. Well, the reason why I wanted to cover this a little bit is because a week ago, I mean, it does, between these stories, Ireland's becoming the go-to television. I guess it's because it's just, grassy green foliage. It's wilderness. It's better than Canada all of a sudden?
It's probably tax reasons, like everything else that happens in this country. It can't be for the weather, that's not why people shoot here. There's Vikings Valhalla, actually the original Vikings as well, shot a lot here. But yeah, apparently this... I'm looking forward to it. I actually recently watched The Green Knight as well, also shot largely in Ireland too.
Well, and I did want to talk about this as well because I guess I wanted your opinion because I was like, I'm not watching this stupid show for when Wednesday season 1 came out, but now I want to ask you, Jacob, should I watch this show?
I found it. Hey, if you like the Agatha All Along trailer, you're gonna love Wednesday season 1. It's definitely got a bit of a YA touch to it, a little bit, but it's also the Addams Family. You like the Addams Family, don't you?
Yeah, sort of. I'm down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I kind of enjoyed it. I watched it with very sort of low expectations, and I think I watched it in 2023, and I knew it was a year late, so that's why I clocked, there's no way this is right, that this was just released. But yeah, no, I'm actually looking forward to season 2. It's kind of like a magical school show. She's sent to a boarding school. There's mysteries going on. There's murder. What's happening in this town? The townies who are normal humans and the weirdos who go to this school who are vampires and ghouls and whatever. Yeah, it's pretty good.
That was
There's a fun dance.
Yeah, I know the dance. One of my problems. Well, real quick, we're kind of splitting hairs. It was the end of November. It was the November 22nd. There was literally less than 40 days left in the year. So, calling it 2023
Halloween.
No, it was after Halloween, but still.
Yeah, but it was Halloween time of year.
Yeah. But one of the reasons why I didn't want to watch this show is because it did feel like the pull for the Addams Family is that they live in the suburbs or whatever. So they're dark and creepy, and everyone else is like, what the fuck, these weirdos? But then this was like, oh no, we're hanging out with werewolves and vampires and stuff. But there is still a towny element as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's sent to this school. I don't forget what they call them, but they're literally called weirdos or something. And they're and it's kind of like magical realism in a way because people kind of know that these things, it's kind of like the Addams Family, I guess. You kind of know they exist, but kind of not. But no, there's the townie folks, and of course she kind of gets maybe a crush of sorts on a townie, but then also there's a hot guy at the school, maybe. Who knows? But also the only real interesting relationship is her and her housemate, flatmate, roommate, as well. So it's fine. It's good. And I see here at the end of this article that Ireland improved its Section 4A1 film and TV tax incentive. So,
yes.
Yeah, I think I was correct there about the tax thing. Eligible to spend €120 per 28.
Yeah, you love to see it. Well, moving on, not much in the news this week, so we're going to get right along with it to...
What TV shows have you been watching? Tell me, I gotta know.
Now, there's a couple of quick things that I was watching this week. Jacob's rocking out. Now, Jacob, have you ever heard of or seen the show The Adventures of Pete and Pete?
Is that no? I've heard it.
Yeah, it's it's like a Nickelodeon show, but like from the old days of Nickelodeon, and it's this weird, quirky, offbeat show from my childhood. It's about two brothers. They're both named Pete and his brother Pete. I believe it originated as little shorts. They would show these shorts like in between shows or during some of the longer commercial breaks. It would be like a sketch, and they'd have the intro of like, this is Pete, and this is his brother Pete, and they live in like suburbia, American suburbia. His mom has a metal plate in her head, which causes her to get like radio stations and radio frequencies. The dad's just a classic suburban dad. Little Pete's friends with Artie, who's the strongest man in the world. He's just this guy that's always running around talking about how he's the strongest man in the world. Just, cast of colorful characters. And here in the States, we were just celebrating 4th of July over like the end of last week through the weekend. And been in the mood for like some summer vibes. And I thought this was part of one of their seasons. I think IMDb lists this episode as from season 1, but I think technically this was like under a special. But there was one called What We Did on Our Summer Vacation that I wanted to rewatch to get into the whole vibe. And one of the best things about Pete and Pete, and I guess not quite the same, but it's reminiscent to me of like Charlie Brown Christmas, where Charlie Brown Christmas has like a not bitterness, but a bittersweet, like almost melancholy feeling to it. Pete and Pete kind of has that through like a through line of the show. And this episode where they're talking about, from a kid's point of view, like the signs of summer, and, the signs of summer are like your shadow gets shorter and the ice cream man comes around. So this like a big through line of this episode is there's this guy, Mr. Tasty, and he wears this big ice cream like helmet. And, he shows up when summer comes and he disappears when summer's over. And so this summer they think that Mr. Tasty's kind of lonely, or to them he feels lonely. So they make an effort to try to become friends with him and like break this social contract of the kids that buy ice cream from the ice cream man. And they kind of spook Mr. Tasty away, and he like disappears in the middle of summer. And so they're going on this mission to find out where he went. And Pete's friend works in like a photo booth, which is not a thing that you would see really anymore. So she like opens up people's photos and going through their vacation pictures, and they keep spotting Mr. Tasty in the background, like at the Statue of Liberty and all these like major landmarks. You'll see Mr. Tasty by himself. At one point, the singer of REM, Michael Stipe, makes a cameo appearance as a different ice cream man who kind of gives them the lowdown of why they like scared him away. I highly recommend watching at least this episode of Pete and Pete if you've never seen it before. It's such a cool show, and I haven't rewatched it in quite a long time. It just recently popped in my head. And I think I had to find all the episodes. I don't think they're available streaming somewhere, but of course you could find them in this day and age. But I think it's worth watching. And I don't know if any listeners out there remember or have a fondness for this show, but it's very cool and well worth a revisit. The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
It sounds like it captures that sort of almost a sense of nostalgia that even like it was doing at the time, right? So that's always very potent when there's a show that manages, like, that talks about the feeling of Christmas, like in the Charlie Brown Christmas special, or what is it actually like to be on your summer holidays or vacation, as you would say. Yeah, it's very interesting when you can compound those two things and go back to something and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't just think this was good because I was a dumb kid. This is pulling at my heartstrings, and I can say definitively it is good. On top of that, so I'm glad to hear you had that experience. What other shows would you like compare this to? Is this like a Malcolm in the Middle type vibe to these adventures, or is it for a younger audience? I suppose.
I guess it's that. I think that's a great comparison, even though it's like a little different. Because it's hard to describe because it's just kind of like a little weird. Like younger Pete has tattoos, like he has Petunia. It's like a woman tattoo on his wrist, and like I mentioned, Artie. One of the things, like little Pete and his friend do a thing during the summer where they get these giant ice cubes and they sled down hills on giant melting ice cubes. It's a lot. It's very much like its own thing. But yeah, I think Malcolm in the Middle would be like a good comparison as well.
Yeah, because Malcolm in the Middle, I was like, for a younger audience, but then I remembered when I was watching it, it felt kind of grown up. But when you rewatch it, you're like, oh yeah, it's like this is not that crazy grown up. It just felt that way because I was, I don't know, 10.
Yeah. And it probably felt like that when I was younger when I watched it, because it's a show that doesn't talk down to kids. Like, even though it's kind of silly and goofy, when you watch it now, you're like, oh wow, they, like you said, it's like, it wasn't nostalgic to me when I watched it, but when you watch it as an adult, you realize like, oh, the writers were nostalgic and they were kind of hitting on something. And yeah, one of the reasons why it did pop in my head is because there's an indie movie that I watched about a month or two ago called I Saw the TV Glow. And it is about, it's about being obsessed with TV. And there's big parallels to Pete and Pete, but also strong parallels to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's very much a story about the trans experience, but it also is about being like obsessed with television and having no other real outlet or recourse. But then also, like, I believe both Pete and Pete have cameos in the movie, and Tara from Buffy has a cameo in the movie. And even the show within the show, like the font, like the credit font is the Buffy font. Like there's so many things that are like right on point for that. But I think that's one of the other reasons why Pete and Pete kind of popped in my head recently.
That sounds great. Are you going to re-binge the whole show, specials and all?
I think I am, now that I have them all ready to go. I did watch a bit of the first episode as well, which it's like the family road trip, and it mostly takes place in the station wagon as they're like driving to the Grand Canyon. But it's all about how there's a rival family. Like the dad takes pride in how he packs the luggage on top of the station wagon and making good time and not having to ask for directions. But they run into a rival family on the road, and that dad maybe packs his luggage a little bit better, and maybe he makes a little bit better time in the battle that ensues from that.
That means war. Yes. It does actually sound like something I would watch, even like as a new show. Like I've tried to, I've rewatched some things or watched some things from like the 90s, and there's always, I think I'm nostalgic even for shows I haven't seen from that era, because I'm nostalgic for like, remember when there used to be like a plot to every episode of a show?
Yeah. Exactly.
Remember when each episode was like a contained story and they did a thing, and I was always the most excited for overarching plot lines and things that came back. In Buffy, I was always like, fuck yeah, that's the big bad episode. I don't care so much about the monster of the week stuff. But there's just something about it where you're just the familiarity. It's like you don't get that familiarity of the same type of story retold in interesting ways and developing the format of how you tell that type of story. That just doesn't happen as much anymore because every season is, every episode is stretched into a season basically. But we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah. And since we're on that, I did recently stumble upon, I think it was either a Reddit thread or a Twitter thread where they were talking about this, and someone had the gall to say, like, because they were talking about, I think they were talking about like the amount of time between, you know what it was? I was looking up Yellow Jackets. I was trying to see when the new season's supposed to be, and of course we're still a year away. And someone was like, it just sucks that we have to wait this long for like 10 episode seasons. We used to have 2022, and someone had to be like, well, no, but now we're getting much higher quality. We used to have so many filler episodes, and they even tried to bring up Buffy as an example. And I'm like, you're out of your element here. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I guess you could constitute some of the episodes as filler, but even the quote filler episodes expanded upon character and made you care about those characters more when it came down to the stakes being higher with the big bads. And maybe even I didn't notice or understand that at the time when I would watch these shows week to week. But it's not something that every show needs, but it's definitely a lost art these days.
Yeah, and even the bad episodes, they had to make some sort of dumbass monster. They couldn't just CGI it. They had to get some fur and staple it to a glove and then ominously open a door, and that's just the type of craft you don't see these days.
Yeah. And real quick,
What TV shows have you been watching? Tell me, I gotta know.
one other thing I did just watch last night, and again, this is an older thing. This is from a few years ago, but again, like we already mentioned, I love my horror shows. Because I'm all done with Pretty Little Liars Original Sin as I'm waiting for the next season, I did delve back into a show called Slasher, which I did watch the first season of years ago, and I never watched the follow-up seasons, but I watched the first episode of season 2. I think it aired originally in 2017. It shows it's a Netflix show. I'm not sure if it's a Netflix show here in the States. I thought it was on Shudder here. I could be wrong. But I believe this is like, I know it's definitely shot in Canada, and there's a lot of Canadian actors, so I don't know if it's like specifically more of a Canada show, because there are people from like Degrassi and stuff on it. And it is similar to American Horror Story, where it's an anthology season, but like some of the actors may pop up, but they're playing different characters.
Right.
So far, episode 1 of season 2 is super chaotic. It starts out, it's like the whole 5 years ago. It's on a summer camp. Again, I'm looking for like summer vibes. It starts out like 5 years ago, and it's like camp counselors at a summer camp going out in the woods to party and drink. But then at one point, they just lead one of them into the woods where they have this weird like bonfire area set up, and they're like, we're here to punish you for what you've done. And then it like ends in some sort of chaotic murder, and then it's like 5 years later. Now it's winter. They're going back to the camp, but now the camp's owned by a weird commune that does yoga together. It's almost very cult-like. And there's a slasher in the midst. Because they went back to go find the body, because apparently they're going to be building tennis courts there or something or other. It's all over the place, even in the first episode. But someone gets stabbed with a chainsaw at one point and cut in half. Another person gets their throat stabbed a few times. I don't know how they're going to go more than this one episode. So we'll see how Slasher Season 2 continues. I'm sure a lot of people out there, if you're into horror, maybe you've already seen this. But I guess I'm getting back into my spooky vibes, trying to catch up on Slasher.
Yeah, I guess I was just looking it up there. I guess it kind of bounced from some different it was broadcasting on Chiller, which it was a channel that disappeared. Then it was on Netflix. Now it's on Shudder. But yeah, it seems like there's 5 seasons still going, or at least up until last year. Or yeah, no, it's renewed 5 seasons are out, 8 episodes each. You said it might be hard for them to, or you can't really see where it's going. I have to say, the plot you just gave me does sound like the standard kind of AI generation of a slash. Like, if I was like, there's a TV show called Slasher, what's the plot? I feel like ChatGPT would give me something similar. That's not necessarily a knock on it, but are they doing inventive, interesting things beyond just the chaos, or do you think you're mainly enjoying it because, there's a slasher?
Well, that's the thing with slashers. Is slashers, you can be the most, AI generated thing as long as the kills are cool. That's what it comes down to for slasher fans, and I'm a slasher fan. And the chainsaw kill came out of nowhere, and it was super cool. So I was like, hell yeah. But then when they're arguing over, it's the classic I know what you did last summer arguments of, someone's like, we should just go to the police. This is too much for us. And then someone else is like, I got a kid now and a husband. We're not going to jail. We're not going to the police. And then the flashbacks to how this happened, and some of that I'm kind of glazed over a little bit. But yeah, it's just weird because 2 people get killed in the first episode, and everyone is kind of already aware that someone's dead. Usually in a slasher, it's a secret for a while, but I'm like, holy shit, in the first episode, everyone already knows someone's been murdered. So how are they going to sustain this? I guess we'll see.
All right, I'll be interested to see if you're gonna plow through, if I'm hearing about Slasher season 3 and 4 coming up, or if this is maybe this is just a well you need to go to sometimes, because I also have that feeling sometimes where I'm like, I know exactly the type of thing I want to consume. I don't think it's good necessarily or inventive or brilliant. It's just sometimes you want McDonald's or whatever, sometimes you want the thing, you want it to be reliable and good, and it sounds like it's a well-named show for if you're looking for slasher content. It sounds like. So, yeah.
Now, do I play the other jingle again, or are we just getting redundant because we're about to be all the bear all the time?
Yeah, it's going to be all bears all the way down. And we did tease this last week that we have a little mini game. So I think we should play that sound now.
Yeah, I like it. All right, here we go. Or do we? Or no, I always fuck that up.
Shipping up to Boston. I'll do this too.
I'm shipping up to Boston. Whoa. I'm shipping up to Boston. Whoa. I'm shipping up to Boston. Whoa. I'm shipping up to find my wooden gem.
That's right. Welcome back to Shipping Up, the minigame, the podcast within a podcast where we actually, it's a game show basically. I'm quizzing Jim and you, the listener, on what might be the most popular ships or relationships within a certain fandom. And this week, the bear.
Yes. Now, we did, at the end of last week's episode, I did call out, because it was obvious, everyone should know this, that Carmi and Sydney would be the main ship of the bear. And that was correct, right? And it hasn't changed in the past week?
No, that is very much correct. And I should say, if you're listening, you haven't watched The Bear, we are going to give a spoiler warning later on. This is going to be relatively spoiler-free so far if you haven't gotten into seasons 1, 2, or 3 of The Bear yet. But yes, the rules, as you said, we've already guessed the first one. But yeah, basically your task is to guess the 5 most popular relationships in the fandom. If you guess wrong, that's a lose. 5 failures, you lose. That's the game. That's it. That's all the rules. Now, I as you said, we have the first one sorted. So Sydney/Carmi or Carmen. This is the obvious one. This is the big one. It's way bigger than everything else. Why did you know that this was going to be the case?
Well, yeah, even though it's weird because the show kind of, on one hand, the show doesn't push this as a romantic relationship, but then on the other hand, it absolutely does. I think the writers and creators would say that they don't, and they don't want that to be a thing. But then again, it's just kind of I guess, the push and pull of how, he gets off track and she can help ground him. But he also is the mentor that helps bring out the best in her. And I guess it's, especially with TV and storytelling and narrative, the combative relationship always leads towards and I don't mean this isn't like combative like hero versus villain, but like they butt heads a bit. And for the audience, that always leads to like, ooh, sexy time.
Correct.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there. You know, Carmi is I suppose the main character of The Bear. He's this chef who's absolutely brilliant, but also has a lot of anxiety and unresolved emotions, and he's kind of obsessive. And here comes Sid, a younger, idealistic, sort of excited for the world chef who's about to take the world by storm, she thinks. They team up, and they're kind of pushing each other and making sure each other are in line and do it. Like, it's like the main relationship of The Bear, arguably. So it makes sense. I think the whole fuck your mentor thing is a big thing in fan fiction in general. I mean, who wouldn't be into that? Also, this wouldn't happen if Carmi wasn't attractive. He's like he's an asshole who is very charismatic and very likable, which is a dangerous combination and makes for great fan fiction. Maybe he does something fucking reasonable in the fanfic, if not in the actual show.
And you know what? Since you brought up Jeremy Allen White and how he's attractive, you know what? My theory about him is he doesn't appreciate how cool his hair is. I don't think he appreciates it. That's just something I'm putting out there. You know, when he's got his hair and his hair's just sticking up and going everywhere, he doesn't even appreciate it.
But isn't that kind of the cool, like the cool quote unquote hair these days is just really big, sticking up everywhere kind of hair?
Kind of. I mean, more. I guess his hair is kind of curly, but more like his is a crazy curly. It's not as like, say, like a Patrick Mahomes or like the standard Zoomer hair that you would see. Like his sometimes is like just fully everywhere. It's really hard to explain, but that's how I'll put it.
I don't know. I remember Timothée Chalamet in the 2019 Little Women, and his hair was fucking just everywhere. Like yeah, it's kind of a similar vibe. Now, it's not as bad. It actually looks like it's kind of more natural on Carmi. But yeah, it's funny. Like now, if you see a historical drama made now, it's like, well, we got to give the cool hot guy the currently cool hair. And you look back at it like, wow, this is fucking weird. But anyway, Jim, that's one down. You have 4 more you need to guess. And I'll tell you, it's not getting easier.
Yeah, this is kind of tough because I'm looking at just like the character cast list now. I can't imagine this is on there, because I feel like most people don't this is a relationship on the show itself, and I feel like it's the main criticism that people bring up. So I don't think people enjoy it, but I have to throw it out there just to at least get it off of the board. But Carmi and Claire is the 6th most popular, so it actually doesn't make the top 5, but I'm not going to take a point off you there because I think that's fair enough. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like one of the few actual canon relationships in the show. And yeah, you can see the difference in numbers here if you're at youtube.com/showswhichyouknow. There are 39 Carmi and Claire fanfics. How many are there with Sid? 1,155. So ooh, okay.
Claire is not very
there.
Popular. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. What about Marcus and Sydney? That's the thing. That's another one that was teased on the show, but a lot of times ones on the show don't carry over.
Yes, it was hinted at on the show. It would make sense, but I don't think they've got the heat. And for that reason, that's an angry Carmi. That's a no. That's one of your failures done, Jim.
Yeah, you're right. I'll take that. Let me see here. Yeah, this is kind of tough. I'm gonna go with a gay one because a lot of the ships do kind of start to bend this way, and this might be too on the nose. But I'm gonna go Carmi and Richie.
Carmi and Richie. So let's see. Carmi and Richie is the 4th most popular ship.
Yes,
so it is on the top 5. Well done. Now, I was saying earlier, Sydney and Carmi, that's like the main relationship of the show. I think that one, and I think Carmi and Richie is actually at least as interesting after, or it should be. Maybe it's not given the room. Maybe we'll get into it in our discussion of season 3 very shortly. But it's a very important relationship for the show, and thusly it shows up as the 4th most popular ship.
And that's a similar one too, where again it's like we're butting heads, but there's there's love there. And I forget if specifically, I know they call each other cousin, but I forget if it's a Sopranos thing where it's like they're not technically cousins.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's a Sopranos thing, yeah.
Not that it would really matter, because I mean, as Game of Thrones has shown us, like blood relatives, we're not too concerned with, but just kind of for clarification's sake.
Spoilers for if we ever do the Frozen one of this, but Elsa and Anna is the most popular ship in the Frozen fandom. So no, it really doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see. What else do we got? Now, there's one, I don't think this is on the list, so this doesn't count as a guest. Unless it is on the... If this is on the list...
I don't think this is the way you can play the game. This doesn't count unless it's correct, in which case
No. What I was going to say is, since I'm saying it's not on the list, if it is on the list, then it counts as an incorrect answer, is what I was going to say.
Okay.
Because this is something hinted at in season 3, so it's very early, or at least the vibes I was reading, and I think it's going to have people frothing soon, but maybe not yet, is Jessica and Richie.
Yeah, I like that one too. I like that. So that's hinted at a little bit in this season. It's not on the list.
I just wanted to put it out there. Again, if it was on the list, you would go ahead and you could mark me because I was saying it wasn't.
Fair.
I don't think they'd have the facts in there, and like people would be doing jokes maybe, but I mean, when we're talking about season 3, like the facts, come on, they're so annoying.
It's getting worse with the facts for sure.
Let's see. Would they have Sugar and Marcus? Would Sugar and Marcus be on the list?
Sugar / Marcus? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. 55 burgers, 55 fries, 55 tacos. That's a no, Jim. That is not on our list.
Gosh darn it. Because the thing is, a big part of the show is Sugar rides hard for Marcus. So I wasn't sure if maybe, people would read into that a bit. I know Sugar's already with her husband, but like the show goes out of the way to make him a goof. Outside of like, when it comes to them dealing with their mother, they kind of are like, oh, you know what? He's a good guy. We like him. But for the most part, it's like he's a joke. He's not a real man. Like, fuck this guy.
I know, but he's a much better person than any of the other characters, most of the other characters. Even though he's a lawyer, he's somehow a better person than most of them.
You know what? Let's go Richie and Sydney.
Fucking hell, you're on fire, Jim. That's the 3rd most popular ship. Sid and Richie, more popular than Carmi and Richie.
Again, we're butting heads. There's passion in the arguments, and I don't want to say hatred. Hatred's a strong word, but there's a passion in some of the dislike or the distaste for one another. But there also is an underlying respect / love, like family love, which of course would then carry on over into sexy time.
Exactly.
So how many wrong do I got? 2 or 3 wrong?
You only have 2 failures, and I'm almost tempted to I give it to you / abort the game at this stage, because the remaining ships, Jim, are what you would consider bullshit.
Oh yeah, that sounds about right.
We'd get to the stage where I show them to you, and you'd be like, "Fuck you, Jacob, for even including these." But I don't make the rules. I just make the rules. Okay.
Okay. Let me see here.
So do you remember, for example, when we were doing Fallout, what kind of bullshit you were finding there when we chatted about the shipping up to Fallout? That genre of like it's
it's got to be the author and Carmi.
I mean, it's I'll give it to you on this one. So it's Carmi / the reader.
Oh,
so
they like yeah.
It's the same. It's basically they write it in the second person, and then it's kind of like a titillating tale. I guess it's kind of like Yeah, I don't know why people enjoy this, Jim, but yeah, it's very popular, and I guess that's the second most popular. But you can see the drop off there, where there's only like 200 ships with this one versus Sid and Carmi so massively in the lead. They've got over 1,000.
Okay, all right.
So you still have you're doing really well. You have the 5th most popular one to guess still. Now I will say it's more of this type of bullshit. It's just bullshit going on here, Jim.
Then I guess I would have to assume the Reader and Sydney.
I'm gonna say that's an angry Carmi. That's incorrect.
I love angry Carmi.
Yeah.
Let's think here. Let's think. We'll go with Carmi and Mikey, his brother.
Okay. That's gonna be a no there, Jim. That's gonna be a no. But I think maybe I just need to give it to you at this stage.
Yeah,
I think we need to call it because
I did pretty good this one though.
I think you basically what you said of like the author and Carmi is like it's as close to this one as it is to the one you actually got. So the 5th most popular one is Carmi / original female character. So a new character they make up and insert into the story, which is often like an author insert, or at least kind of someone for the reader to identify with. So it's basically more fan fiction bullshit. I have to say you aced this one. There's not as big of a sample set here as when we're doing, your Harry Potters or whatever. So there's not that many differences, but you definitely nailed which would be the most popular ones. So well done, Jim.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can make this work here. Whoop, nope, that's not the right one.
So this is the ship they say is unsinkable.
It is unsinkable.
It is unsinkable.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. A game we play. I don't know if anyone finds it interesting, but I certainly do, because it's just this view into how people consume a piece of media that is very sort of unique, I think.
I agree. I like to hear how what's really tugging on people's horny strings out there when they're watching some of these shows. So yes, The Bear season 3. Let's get into it again. Like you mentioned, we'll be maybe we'll discuss spoilers for like season 1 and 2, but we won't get into season 3 spoilers until we'll play the jingle before we get into that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I have to say, like, as you know, I hadn't really watched this show at all until recently. And then last week, I basically rewatched all of season 2. I watched season 2 and then immediately rewatched season 2 because Una, my partner, was like, wait, I want to watch season 3 as well. And she was kind of catching up. And I was like, well, so I shouldn't start season 3 until you've done season 2. So then I just ended up watching season 2 with her again leading into season 3. So now I'm a lot more well-versed than I was in The Bear.
Yeah, no, and I didn't rewatch any of them. I just watched season 3. So some of the previous details were cloudy in my head going into season 3. So yeah, you were like amped up, ready to go. So now let's talk a little bit about this first episode first then. And I mean, I don't think this would be a spoiler because the first episode is just a vibe. Am I wrong in saying that season 3, episode 1 is just a vibe?
I have written notes for all of the episodes, and my first note on this is all vibe, no plot on episode 1. So we are definitely on the same page.
Because but I went through like some stages through watching that episode because I mean, I think the initial stage for everyone is kind of like, wait, what's happening? Because, things are just happening. It's cutting around. You're seeing some things you've seen before, some things you haven't seen before. It takes like a minute or two to kind of grasp what's going on. And I think I've even read some people are like, I had no idea what the hell was going on at all. And then I got into like, oh, I get what they're doing. This is kind of cool. Then it was like, oh, they're still doing this. Then it was like, this is fucking annoying. But then it was like, this is awesome.
Okay.
And almost like in a weird way, I guess that the reason why I want to talk about it because it almost encapsulates the season to me as a whole in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I had very similar notes where it's kind of a non-linear montage. So it's a montage, but it's kind of going back several years in the plot of the show, showing Carmi's experience in the world of professional cooking up to this point, other tidbits from here and there in the plot. There's no real change or movement as far as you can see, and it's all put together in a dreamy sort of way where I think it's... Trent Reznor? What's his
Trent
name?
Reznor?
Yeah, he does the music for this one, and you can tell it's like a pulsing, slow, sort of synthy sound to it, very The Social Network. And it's,
Is it with Atticus Ross as well?
It is, yes.
I didn't realize that. I didn't look it up. I love Trent Reznor scores, though. I love The Social Network score.
Yeah, and it's solid, but it's kind of got that dreamy sort of sense of slow movement, and I do think that's a good description of the overall season. And I guess I don't know exactly when we need to give a spoiler warning because I do want to get into specifics, but basically I think that the season individual episodes are quite good, but there's a lot of like languishing is a word that sprang to mind for me. It's like the show is kind of languishing in this vibe that it's set up for itself. Now, meandering would be the less kind version of that, where it's just kind of plodding along, kind of spinning its wheels, doing the same things it's been doing, but less interestingly. I think there's a distinct lack of change for a lot of the characters looking at the start of the season and the end of the season, and it's more just about capturing that kind of vibe. They have a lot of real chefs on this season that are talking about what it's like to run a restaurant, and that's fine up to a point, but I don't know. I feel like that kind of takes over the driving plot of the show, whereas before, in seasons 1 and 2, they do a great job of building up to a climax, and that just doesn't feel like it happens here.
Yeah, no, that's you're kind of saying exactly what I was saying last week, where I was just being vague, but I was just kind of like, there are some good episodes. I still appreciate this show, and I appreciate how it's made and how it looks and the performances. But as a season of television, season 3, it's just it's unsatisfying. It's not a well done season of television. And I guess some people could say, well, I'm closed minded because I look at things in the banner of a concept of a season of television. I should open my mind more and allow these things. But no, like it's not fair, because it's not. Like the show's artistic, but this doesn't come off as an artistic choice. To me, it questions my confidence in them even knowing where they want to go. And this was almost a way to drop some vibes on us, let us have a season, but they're still they don't really know where they want. Because you don't have to have big plots. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but this show does purposely introduce a bunch of plots that it doesn't pay off a single one. Yeah. And even then that would be fine if, like you had mentioned, the characters, if at least I felt like the characters went through something because of these plots or whatever, or because these things are left up in the air. If I felt the characters changed or had some sort of moments with their relationships with each other, then I would forgive it a bit more. But again, I'm not saying this is a bad show. It's still a good show, but this is something that when you're again, I guess to go back to the binge argument for the Bear, when you're able to just binge this season and then go on to the next, then you're like, oh, hey, fine. I don't see the problem there. But when you're watching it as a season of a television, and then you're like, oh, now we have to wait a year for stuff that you brought these things up, and then you just left them hanging. That's like the biggest problem I have.
Yeah, I said to Una, imagine if we waited a year for that when we were discussing the show after the fact, and she was like, "Yeah, that's a good point. I would be pissed." And maybe we weren't, and we were able to appreciate what the good that is there in this season. But I can definitely see why the audience score is lower for this season than for previous ones, because it's not just that it doesn't fulfill what it's set up. It's more like you kind of lose a bit of the confidence that you've had in their ability to do that, which is like at the same time, the technical way that it's put together is still beautiful. Like so many different montages that are great. There's a great montage of like Chicago restaurants, a little more working class than some of the other like montages we've seen. And in that one, they're randomly like they're just kind of waving at the camera, so they're kind of like breaking the fourth wall a little bit. They've clearly gone out and filmed at these actual locations, but it's so beautifully put together and so well integrated into the show that you don't really question it, and they're able to make these really interesting choices in terms of direction and editing and music, but that doesn't really matter if you're not able to make it all come together in the end as well, you know?
Yeah,
and
no, I agree. Sorry,
on what you were saying about the
personal.
relationships, Richie and Carmen, as we discovered, is the what did I say, the fourth most popular ship in the fandom, and it's this relationship. Not talking about the fan fiction version, the actual version. It's in the same place at the end of this season that it is at the beginning of this season. Just compare that to how their relationship developed in season 1. You know, this is a very slight spoiler, but around the time when Richie's arrested, and the line "You're all I've got, cuz" from season 1 or season 2, Forks, I wear suits now. Like the development and change in their relationship alone across those 2 seasons is fantastic. And I think their conflict at the finale of last season was great as well. Nothing about that is resolved or developed throughout this season, even though we spent a lot of time with these characters.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I guess, should we just get into spoilers?
Yeah, fuck it. Let's get into spoilers.
Ayo, this is AI generated bullshit. AI generated bullshit by AI Jacob. Here we go. Spoiler alert, we're gonna spill the beans. No turning back, no living in your dreams. We'll reveal secrets and we'll blow your mind. Darth Vader was dead the whole time, and in The Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis was that kid's dad. Dumbledore killed Snape, made all the kids sad. Man, you can't control these spoiler bars, and the Planet of the Apes was actually Mars.
All right, so the big driving, well, one of the driving things, well, a few of the driving things. So they're going for the Michelin star. And then we get word that a critic has already come and eaten at the restaurant. They weren't aware of it. Then it's like the review came in, to be continued. There's nothing more than a fucking slap in the face to the end of a season than a title card that says to be continued. It's like, no shit, to be continued. Did I think this was the series finale? No, I didn't. I mean, that would actually be more bolder to just put, this was the series finale.
And not just end it and like cancel it, just put that. That's it. That's all, folks.
Yeah, you don't announce it ahead of time or anything like that. Just all of a sudden you're watching it and then a title card comes up and says, this was the series finale. Thank you for watching. The end.
Would have improved Game of Thrones, and people wouldn't have been as confused by The Sopranos. That's all I'm saying. That was it. The episode is now over. But you mean that you don't... They kind of... Like, talking about fucking cliffhangers, the way you're supposed to do it is... There's a mystery door. You open the door, see what's on the other side, and you go, whoa, I can't believe what this means, what's going to happen, because now I know what's on the other side of the door, and that's going to be next season. The way you don't want to do a cliffhanger is the fucking cut to commercial, like, oh, the door is opening. Wait, can't wait until we see what's on the other side, and then you cut. That's the unsatisfying version of doing a cliffhanger, and that's what they did. Even though they introduced this review that they're going to get, it's not even about, is it a Michelin star thing? It's like just a review that's being written, as far as I understand. They introduced that in episode 4. And they keep talking about it until episode 10. And just given how I said the show is good at building up to climaxes in seasons 1 and 2, I was just like, whoa, episode 10 is going to be crazy, because we're going to get the resolution of Sid. Is she going to go off and work in her own restaurant, or is she going to stick it out with the bear? That's going to come to a head. Richie and Carmi's relationship, everything that's been brewing there has to come to a head and sort of get to a new place. It has to change and resolve in episode 10. And also we need to know,
is this review good or bad? Is the restaurant staying open? And we didn't get any of that shit. Instead, we got a bunch of chefs sitting around talking about what it's like to be a chef. And I was like, what are we watching, a fucking documentary now? Because there's a bunch of people who I can only assume they're real chefs because they're not really doing any acting and they're just kind of, or maybe it's just sourced from actual stories from chefs. There's definitely real chefs in there because it's all like, whoa, these are actual people from fine dining. And I'm like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're in there. They're talking about how they fell in love with food or whatever. And instead of actually resolving any of these storylines, that's kind of what we get in the finale. Now, as we've said, a lot of other good stuff as well, but I was kind of holding this in if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it became very apparent this season that Christopher Storer is like just in love with the idea that he gets to mingle with these chefs because he really played like every angle he could to just hang out with chefs. And yeah, at this point, it's not that impressive to the viewer unless other things were happening. Like, I don't know. But yeah, did you also mention the whole Richie's ex-wife marriage thing that was kind of built up? And is he going to go to the wedding or isn't he going to go to the wedding? I mean, Marcus's mom had passed away. That's like barely a footnote in this season. Like we do go to the funeral and the facts are at the funeral for some reason, which for whatever reason it just bugged me for some. I'm like, I don't think they would be there. The whole thing with, I mean, the big thing online, and again, this doesn't really have much to do with the overall like plot points of season 3, but people are, and I brought this up before of just how it went this whole fine dining route and how, it just feels, like not disconnected. It's not the right word, but it just feels like a bizarre angle to go after like the way the first season was. But there's a big argument over how if the show earned it or not, because there's like articles about it being gentrified and how like if you had your local sandwich shop, you'd be annoyed if you then went to go there and they had like $80 appetizers or whatever. But some people are like, well, they mentioned they have a sandwich window. They've showed us the sandwich window, but to me, that's not developed enough. Like it's almost, for lack of a better term, window dressing, I guess. It's literal window dressing because, yeah, we see that it gets busy at one point and it's a mess. And we see there's a line out there and they have lines of dialogue that say, like, it's the only part of the business making money. And I guess you can argue that maybe that's hinting at this big fine dining restaurant will fail and they're going to realize they have to go back to their roots or something. I guess that's something they could do. I did get a lot of hate on Twitter for weaving into this conversation because at Jacob Q Knight said, the dumbest criticism of the Bear is, quote, I'd be mad if my neighborhood sandwich joint became a fine dining spot. My brother in Christ, there's a whole subplot about how the beef window is the only thing making money. It's almost like part of the show's greater point or something. Now, I just disagree with this. And I said, well, it's more the sandwich window, quote, plot seems thrown in to try to get ahead of the criticism. And I don't literally think it's only there for that, but I do think they anticipated it a little bit, and that's why it's like the biggest criticism mostly is that I don't feel like it's developed enough. If it felt like an actual plot point where, we have Ibrahim, we see him flustered working the window, but we don't know anything else about it. We see another guy come in that's like, we got to work the window. We got to do this right. You know what I mean? The local guy that's like, the streets are talking, Carmi. But again, I feel like that's all lip surface. It's not like a real plot. And I got all these people calling me a fucking moron and an idiot.
Hey, do they know you have a podcast? Surely no moron or idiot could have a podcast.
It's literally mentioned in season 1 when they're cooking up the original concept for their fine dining restaurant. But again, that's not, I don't doubt it was mentioned. I do remember that, but that still is to me, it's barely like, it's not actually a plot in the show. It's something that's mentioned and shown, but like it's not explored in any meaningful sense. We know more about John Cena as his terrible cameo as one of the facts, and then the other fact guy that hangs out with the main fact that we know that they kept showing. Like, or the goofy ass. I mean, again, I have so much problem with the facts. Like I hated how much time was spent with these characters. When they had the terrible joke where he doesn't know to leave the food at the table when he brings the food out, he just brings it back in. All right, that's what we're doing. But I'm trying to see, because someone I think called me a stupid asshole. Where was it?
Let's find it and read it in detail. I think that guy, I read somewhere that guy who comes and works the window is like...
It's the owner, yeah. The beef,
yeah.
Yeah.
Of like the original restaurant that inspired the thing. I didn't look into it that much, but I guess there was an original place that this is all actually kind of about, where Christopher Storer kind of hung out, I think. And this guy's like the guy.
You're correct. Yeah, he worked there. It's the character that's like, yeah, hey, who would have seen us now or whatever? Who would have thought we would be now? Remember we worked here as kids? But the thing is, with the original Beef, they didn't turn it into a fine dining restaurant. It's still literally just a sandwich shop. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I agree that it's not developed enough, but also I kind of feel like that's a season 1, season 2 problem. That's not a problem. Like, I've kind of I got past it in season 2, especially when I rewatched it, where I'm like, okay, we're doing a fancy fine restaurant. That's the plot now. Let's just imagine there were a bunch of scenes where they kind of got to that stage, I guess, and decided that's what they wanted to do. But it is real. It's kind of tough when you go back or you see something from season 1 or a flashback to when the beef was there, and you're like, oh, this is way nicer. This is kind of the vibe that I want.
Here's why, to me, I think it's still a problem. Because yes, they show it here and there. Can you tell me where the fuck that is? Like, in the geography of the restaurant. Like, I know there's one wide shot where we see a line of people to the side, like waiting for sandwiches. But if you think about where the dining room is and how, like, it's well established in the geography of the show of how, like, you know, you got your dining area, Richie will come in, you got your chefs and everyone there in that main kitchen. Where the fuck is the window? It's like deeper in the kitchen somewhere. It's off to the side. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get, to me, it's almost like, feels like it's some other show when we pop up there. Like we're checking in on another show here and there. And I know I'm harping on this. It's not even that important, but people were yelling at me online.
Yeah, you gotta yell, but that can happen sometimes when you have opinions, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You mentioned John Cena. So John Cena's in this season, and he's a fax brother or cousin or whatever. He shows up and buffs the floor. And do you remember in Game of Thrones when Ed Sheeran was there? It felt kind of like that. It felt kind of like, well, why the fuck is John Cena here? Everyone else in this show who's supposed to be related actually kind of looks related. And then John Cena is there, and he does not, like, that is so irrelevant for the plot. They just bring up this haunting joke, and kind of they keep harping on this joke. And I think maybe there's supposed to be some deeper meaning, because, like, Carmi's haunted by Claire, and that's why he keeps getting flashbacks with Claire. But that's another fucking criticism I have. There's so much Claire in this season. I thought we could finally move on from that. I don't even hate her that much, but it was very clear she was just there to form a narrative function in season 2, and that's kind of been fulfilled. But I guess he's got to fucking wallow about it. And we get more of these scenes going back to that. We get, I think, a significant portion of the runtime of this season is actual flashbacks. Not to mention all the montages and stuff. But I don't mind that stuff. It's not as bad to me as dream sequences, Jim. But there's so much of it to the detriment of the actual, like, here and now. We don't check in with the here and now, and when we do, it's fucking John Cena buffing the floor and talking about going to kill a duck in the pond, you know, and that's fine. But I also need the meat. I can't just have the facts fucking around, you know?
No, I agree. I mean, I don't even really hate the flashbacks. I like the way it visually shows how, you know, teachers make us who we are, and the way these things, it's a little on the nose sometimes, but also just how our experiences mold the person we become, and how, like, the work I did, or the people I work with, how they made me the person I am today. Like, I enjoy all that. But then sometimes when you think about it for a second, I'm like, how old is Carmy? This motherfucker's worked worldwide with all of the top chefs you've ever heard of, but he apparently put in years of work at every single one of these restaurants. And then he came home and he's sad about it for some reason. Like, I don't know. Like, is he supposed to be in his 40s? How much time is he putting when he's in, where was he, in Denmark? Living on the boat for a while. Then he was of course working at Ever. Then he was working with another guy, and then the other person that shows him how to pull the wishbone. This guy is
French
the Forrest.
Kitchen.
He's the Forrest Gump of chefs. Like, he just happens to stumble into every great chef. And then he had one mean boss, and that mean boss. That mean
Jim,
boss.
he's just that good. Okay.
Yeah. But what else was I going to say? There was something else along that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, there's so much around it. And then, like, it's in a weird way. I mean, I guess they didn't forget it because the mom's in the season. But it felt like season 2, like season 1, obviously it was like how Joel McHale fucked him up. Like, in cooking, which is a thing he loved, got fucked up between losing his brother and dealing with like a toxic work environment. But season 2 seemed to get into more like, well, no, it's kind of like the vibe of his family is what made him that way. It already made him anxious. But then I felt like season 3 threw a lot of that more to the wayside, and it was more about how, no, it was Joel McHale. Like, it was the work environment that made him the way he is. I mean, again, I guess the show's not really saying I don't think it's necessarily saying one thing makes us who we are. That's kind of the whole point. But it was just weird how the main focus was on that. Especially, at least for Carmy anyways. And then, yeah, the whole thing with Claire, for it to be, I didn't mind how much they would show her, but yeah, for there to be no real resolution one way or the other, even at the very least, him trying to reach out or something, he's such a passenger in a lot of his own life. And I guess maybe that's part of the point because he's in the restaurant business and that takes over everything, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, season 2 was him trying to have a little bit of a life outside of running a restaurant, and then kind of he was starting to fuck things up because of it, and so now he's so overcommitted back into doing this 100%, but he's kind of become Joel McHale. There's a theme of cycles here, right? Because obviously he got real fucked up, got panic attacks from Joel McHale and his abuse, and now he ends up doing the same to Sid, even though, like, and I think Joel McHale has a point of, like, I don't think about you, like, that's just how this works. I made you a better chef. And he's taking that approach with Sid. He's like, no, I made your dish better. Fuck you. Like, and he might think that he does a better job of it, but that's kind of, we literally see this happening. It's mad that Sid is still there, really, at the end of this, but it's the same with Donna and Sugar, I guess, the mom and Sugar. There's a theme of like how there's a cyclic nature of how these things repeat themselves or whatever. But I have to talk about episode 8, Ice Chips, the birth giving episode. Did you get it? Did you like this episode? Because I just wrote fuck this episode. Fuck this episode, Jim. I hated this episode. This episode is fucking bullshit, Jim, and you're wrong.
No,
I was so bored at this. I was bored and annoyed at this stage. So I actually, if I can bring you through my journey on the season, by the time we got to episode 3, the restaurant's actually open. Marcus, his mom has been. She's 6 feet under. That's done with. We got the funeral done. The restaurant's up and running. We get sort of a stressful montage throughout the episode. Classical music. I thought this showed a lot of momentum. And then there's like episode 4, Claire flashback, 5 minutes. Some good bits in that episode with Richie and his daughter. Otherwise, very little happens in that episode. They find out they're going to be reviewed, and I'm like, great, okay, we've done this. We've gotten to this stage. Next episode or the episode after, we find out what the review is and like what's going to happen with the restaurant. No. Next episode, I mean, John Cena's there doing the haunting bit. This computer guy comes in, gives them some good financial advice, and Sid is helping Marcus pack up his mother's stuff. I always like seeing them hang out. But besides that, nothing really changes that episode. Episode 6, Tina flashback episode, actually quite good.
No,
but
this is where I disagree with you. I did not like this episode. Because if we could pause for a second, it's not that I dislike the episode. The episode's not necessarily bad. It's but it's almost like it's and this has been a criticism other people have pointed out, where it's like character development through flashback, but it's also through retcon, because I mean, again, you watched season 1 more recent than I have, but from what I remember of Tina, the Tina that in season 1 would not be the Tina in this flashback. The Tina in season 1, and I'm not even talking about, some people get into like how there's a continuity mistake because she mentioned something about knowing Carmi when he was little or something like that. Like, I don't really care about that detail. It's more so she comes off as a vindictive person that works there in the beginning, where she's like almost trying to sabotage Carmi doing better at the restaurant or trying to be a better chef just because she doesn't, respect him or whatever as a boss. But that's the Tina in this flashback would not be that character, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Tina in this flashback seems like a nice person, which is weird.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it. Yeah, I did feel like nothing was really my main problem with the episode, because I kind of liked the episode, but didn't like where it fit into the season. I felt like nothing was happening with Tina outside of this episode this season. Like, there's a few bits where she's kind of fucking up because Carmi's putting insane pressure on the whole operation, but the flashback didn't. This whole episode is a flashback, and it doesn't really connect with any particular ongoing storyline as far as I can tell. If anything, it just showed me how the beef with all its dysfunction was a better place to work than the restaurant they've set up now, kind of connected to what we said before. But yeah, I liked the episode. It took me an embarrassing amount of time to realize it was a flashback. I was just like, can't believe Tina's working 2 jobs. That's crazy. When she was going into her office job. Yeah, but I thought it was fine, but I did have a thought of like, they better kick things into gear after this. This is episode 6. They've decided to dedicate the whole thing to a Tina episode, which I'm happy with, but a Tina flashback episode, so it has nothing to do with what's going on in present day. And then the next episode, there is a bit of plot, I guess. Sid is offered the CDC role at a different restaurant, and we're like, oh, surely this will be resolved by the end of the season. No. Sugar goes into labor, calls her mother. Episode 8 is all in the hospital, like one extended play with the two of them. So let me know, tell me what you liked about the episode, Jim.
I mean, I enjoy a good two-hander. I think that the performances were really well done. I do feel like it fleshed out more of the family relationship, and it did show that the Jamie Lee Curtis as the mother was like kind of trying to be better, but also like, I guess a big thing with like to reference The Sopranos, change is hard or people don't change. Like, that's basically the way things come down to. And I liked the way like it shows how people can't get out of their own way sometimes, where it's like, yeah, you try to do better and read the room, but then sometimes you can't help yourself. But then, I don't know, the performances really got me, and I believed it. And I think it's tougher for me to believe it because that is Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, that's harder because it's not just a actor I don't know. I don't know Abby Elliott really from anything. I think she's in other stuff, but nothing I've seen. But I don't. It felt organic. It felt natural, and I guess almost like a good bottle episode, if anything. But it is tough. I get what you're saying, because this is a 10-episode season, and placement-wise, it is kind of like, it does feel like things should be amping up a bit more. I did kind of dislike that it didn't seem to affect anything else. Like, you don't even get to see Carmi and Richie like seeing the baby, really, right? Like,
nope.
I thought that was a little strange. It was almost like some other show, like in hindsight, after watching the other episodes, where it didn't feel like anyone else even reacted that she had her baby.
Yes, I can understand why you would like it, to be honest, but it's more about like where it's at in the season. Because as I said, episode 6, I'm like, oh, this whole thing was a flashback and it's not connected to anything going on. They better kick it into gear. And then episode 8, 2 episodes later, is a bottle episode where there's very long scenes between these two characters and the birth of this child that doesn't seem to mean much in the overall story. I kind of get the Carmi's like, he's so into the restaurant thing that he's not paying attention to the rest of his life. But yeah, it seems completely irrelevant that this has happened, but it's the whole episode. And yeah, it didn't flow. It didn't flow at all for me. This what they were doing here. So, and I didn't enjoy the scenes, and I didn't the he's and all that was fine, but I was like, this. I think I would have liked the episode just fine if it had maybe a B plot or something. You know, it was just like a lot for me at this stage in the game.
Yeah. I think I just like that there was clearly, I mean, there's issues there for a mother-daughter relationship. And, you know, it's sad. It's like, it's really sad that she didn't want her mom to know she was having a baby and didn't want her involved. But then it's also completely justified based off what we know about how they were brought up. And it's devastating, even if you think of the mother as a villain, for her to have to hear that and like realize that, but then still be there because it's her daughter, and then her daughter rebelling against what she's saying just on principle, but then realizing that she also is right. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot there. There's a good dynamic. There's, I think it's not plot progression for the show, but I think there's a lot of character stuff there between them, and as far as the family's concerned. So yeah, I was more on board with it.
Yeah, and I'm sure I would have been more on board with it if there was plot progression in any of the other episodes, you know?
Fair. Yeah.
I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I thought it was going to turn out that she didn't call Pete. Because she's like, call my husband, or when I call my husband, and I thought maybe the mother had finagled it, like, no, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be the person, you know, I'm not gonna let your husband show up. But no, it turns out she was actually trying. I guess I was just trying to insert some sort of plot into the episode.
I feel you.
Yeah, and the episode 9, we're reminded of ongoing storylines, but they don't actually move. We've taken a break in a couple of episodes already, and then it's kind of like, yeah, we're just reminded, hey, Sid still hasn't decided if she wants to leave or what. It's emphasized in this review, which we don't bring out, but we're in a restaurant. If it's bad, just to up the stakes for a tip point to get to, and the fact to Claire, I just wrote.
Yeah, no, who cares? It really is. Who cares at that point? And I mean, the other thing with this show is like they hint at things that all kind of end up being like toothless when they happen, because I think even like some of the family drama is still like, I mean, obviously there's mental health issues with like the mom and stuff, but then it's like weirdly toothless when it happens. Similar to like the uncle character who like was more hinted earlier as being this like badass like mafia guy almost. And I get like part of the thing is that he has a soft spot for Carmi, and he even outright says like, I wish I did more, and this is almost like his way of doing more. But it all comes off more as like lip service. It doesn't feel like there's ever actual stakes. I mean, I guess this whole part does show that it might be out of his control, so maybe that is kind of introducing stakes a bit more. There was something else too, but yeah, anyways, well, even going into like Sydney's panic attack, like not to like minimize what she's going through and what she has to deal with Carmi, but I don't think it's anywhere close to like what they've hinted at that Carmi had to do. I get that Carmi can be a dick, but also like she's gotten so much relatively quickly. Maybe this is just me being like an old guy, like, in my day, this and that. But I don't know. It feels like I feel like they could have made Carmi maybe a little bit more like, I guess they make him unlikable sometimes, but maybe they could have had a little bit more of an exclamation point on some of these things to make it feel like, I don't know, more of like a hard ass, or more that he was becoming a monster, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think in my opinion, he is very unlikable this season. But I think for me, yeah, I agree that the treatment in there is not as bad as what Carmi was receiving for, you know, the 10 years he worked with Joel McHale, I guess. You know, 'cause he worked 10 years at all these different restaurants, it seems like, as you were pointing out earlier. But I think maybe the panic attack is more about like having to make that decision, because she clearly is not doing well with like she's kind of like, I have to let go of this and leave this place, the bear, in order to go and do my own thing, but is kind of paralyzed by the choice as well, because she has good memories there and whatever. Like, there's a lot you could read into it. I'm just kind of projecting because I don't get too much from the show on what's happening here, you know?
Well, you know, the other thing, in my opinion, that was toothless is this. They have this whole thing with Ever closing down, but what dramatically more interesting to me would have been is that the restaurant failed, and that's why it closed down. But the show goes out of its way to be like, no, it's not a failure. She just decided like she doesn't want to do it anymore, which is like, okay. So, you know, I feel like if it was like, you know what, fine dining doesn't quite hit as it once did, even if you're like, hey, post-COVID, people aren't, I don't know, like, do something to make it feel like the restaurant failed, because then that, to me, puts more of an emphasis on, I know there's already like this thing on the review and will the restaurant succeed or not, but I feel like that is more of an exclamation point. I'm like, oh my God, even my mentor failed. How am I supposed to succeed? But the show was like, nah, she just kind of realized it was time.
I think it's supposed to feed. I mean, we do have a lot of like restaurants failing or whatever in season 2, I guess. And I think even in here, we see some of that sort of thing to kind of try to make that be a looming threat. But I think this is supposed to feed into Carmi's overall arc of like, he's gone to the stage where from the end of season 2, he's dropped Claire. He's like, drop everything to pursue this dream. I have to be all in order to get to the pinnacle. And then seeing someone who's gotten to that stage going, no, I mean, I've done it and I'm happy I did it, but like, there's no life. I'm actually going to value having a life over all of this. It's kind of like, it feeds into his plot rather than the plot of the restaurant, but his development and movement is kind of underdeveloped, I think. So
my problem with that, though, is because this is what the show did. What the show did, from my recollection of season 2, is that Sydney, who is usually the voice of reason, she was the one that largely had an issue with his relationship with Claire and thought it was getting in the way of the restaurant. So it's almost like going back off of like, I know that it's well-trodden territory in stories to be like, well, if you want to be a master or great at something, you have to drop away like real life things and only focus on your dream or whatever. But I don't know. I felt the show in season 2 was trying to show that his relationship was bad, and that if he wanted to be great and he wanted to excel and achieve his dream, he had to drop away those things. But now season 3, they're saying, hey, it's not all that great, which I guess that can be part of storytelling, but I don't know. Everything to me is so like mishmash sometimes that it doesn't come off with clarity.
Yeah. And like, I feel like we can have this really long chat about it, and like the start of this chat was like, we like the bear. We still like the bear. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Because, like, what are we going to do? Talk about all the fucking montages and all the music or whatever. Like, it's really well put together. I think one positive, I guess, about the sort of mushiness of the plot is that we can actually have these different opinions on like what is going on within these characters. That's what they're going for. That's what the first thing you said, right? Episode 1 is a vibe. It doesn't seem to be happening much, but it's really capturing this sort of feeling, this sense, this emotional state. And that seems to be what the show it really wants to do and can do very well. I think in seasons 1 and 2, that was paired with a really punchy sort of plot progression that is lacking here. And that seemed like, when I was looking it up, like there was a lot of talk about them maybe filming 3 and 4 back to back. And, you know, I don't think the problems in this season are resolved by the next season delivering on any of these promises. I think this is still not a great season of television, even though it has a lot of good stuff within it. But I think, I was reading that They were going to film them back to back, but then didn't have the scripts ready or whatever in time, which is so in line with the problems we're talking about. I don't know how accurate that is. That was just kind of an article I was reading about it. Who knows the exact ins and outs of it? But basically, yeah, they didn't film them back to back. It feels like they're kind of making it up as they go, and that has worked out in the past. It's not looking great at the moment. And yeah, I want to binge another season straight away. With all that said.
Yeah. I mean, when it all comes down to it, yeah, it's because I want to watch more. I'm invested in these characters. I know we probably like bitching about things a little bit. But when it comes down to it, it's for a show that's still, third season is still relatively new, especially being like 30 seasons or 30 episodes, or did one of them have 8 episodes, or did they all have 10?
The first one was 8, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the amount of episodes, it's still a relatively early show. And yeah,
which this season also had 8 if you take out the 2 bottle episodes, to be fair.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just, I mean, I guess, and some people have pointed out, like, hey, this is what you guys always do. Like, not just us specifically, but other people that are being critical. It's like, you always hail a show as great, and then by season 3, we're all bitching about things. And,
yeah,
it's obviously super hard to make a fucking good television show. So, but it does start to be like, well, once you get to a season 3 or 4-ish, you even look at something like Buffy. People think like the peak was like season 3, and then they hated season 4. I love season 4. Season 4 is very episodic. But yeah, it's just because you start getting used to the vibe of things once you're on like a second or a third season. So you need to throw a little bit more. And the main problems I had outside of the other things I was talking about are just nitpicks. They're whatever shit. They're not things that make the show bad to me. They're just little things I bitch about because I wish maybe something like this could have been better, or I expected something like that. But when it comes down to just as a season of television, you're introducing things. You have to give me some sort of payoff. You can't just give me a to be continued. I don't think that it's very unsatisfying in the end. And again, maybe they'll fix these in the next season, but like you said, it doesn't make this a good season of television.
Yeah. Well, if I can tie it back to our discussion of Pete and Pete and like 90s shows where there's a plot within every single episode, there's kind of like the episodic plot-driven way of doing things that's kind of like The Beef, right? And then you have the more fancy schmancy navel-gazy way of doing things that's kind of like The Bear, the restaurant. It's the fine dining version. We've gone from a strong plot in earlier seasons or season 1 or whatever into a more kind of navel-gazy vibe. This season definitely captures a fine dining kind of vibe, which sometimes makes you go, the fuck is this? I just want a hot dog. Like, where's my simple plot? I just want a monster of the week to come in here, and I want it to be dead by the end of the episode. I don't want to hear about a review that's not going to come out this whole season. So it's just kind of a development, and I think the benefit of those type of episodic shows like Buffy, it's like develops a format over the course of several seasons. It kind of figures out what it wants to do, and then it starts subverting that and doing interesting things and playing with the medium that it's set up for itself. And this, I guess, is just kind of feels like it's going off in a different direction. But I think I've said my piece on The Bear.
Yeah, no, same here. We're going in circles now. You get it.
Hey, what are we, an episode of The Bear? What are we, a season of The Bear over here?
Yeah. Insert flashback of us, being upset about Stranger Things flashbacks from the episode prior.
Yes.
Insert us discussing Westworld flash forwards. Make a montage out of it. What did you think of The Bear season 3? Do you think we're stupid assholes? Let us know. showswhatyouknow@gmail.com. Make sure you give us a like and smash that like button. Hit subscribe on YouTube. Also on all podcatchers. Shows What You Know.
Yeah.
I know it's not the most SEO compatible. Sometimes I try to search and I can't fucking find it, but
Yeah, well, if you really don't agree with us, you can always give us a 1-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Don't tell them to do that. Please don't ask people
Hey,
to
any
do that.
engagement's good engagement. Find us on your
No.
podcatcher of choice. Give us a low review if you disagree with our opinions and the way we present them.
Well, now, look, we're small. We're like the young upstarts of the beef. You don't want to give us... You can give us constructive feedback, but don't give us below 3 stars, but then you could put all your criticisms within the body of the review.
I think this is gonna be just like the bear. We're just gonna be waiting for this review, Jim, and it's just never gonna show up.
You don't want to kill small businesses like the beef before we become, the bear, or in our case, blank meets blank, and or podcast about television. The podcast about television is the bear, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Check out the podcast about television at showswhatyouknow.com. That finale of season 2 will definitely come out at some stage once I get it put together. But yeah, there's 19 episodes of us reviewing other podcasts out there if anyone wants that. Yeah.
Anyways, thanks everybody.
Our show's what you know. We'll always watch TV, and if you think we can't, we'll watch more and you'll see. That's why the people of the web believe in Jim from Las Vegas and Jacob from Sweden.